NFL trade deadline is set for 4 o'clock Eastern, so let's get you caught up on the latest Philadelphia Eagles trade buzz. This is Eagles Now by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr., and right now the buzz kind of hot around Colts running back Nyheim Hines. According to Pro Football Focus, ahead of the deadline, teams are showing interest in him, and there's some familiarity between him and Nick Sirianni, which makes this very interesting. We're going to take a look at some numbers, why it might make sense, and also the value of this player. First, though, let's take a look at this report from Pro Football Focus. Sources told PFF that there are 2 top teams who have shown interest in the veteran running back: Los Angeles Rams, Buffalo Bills. Obviously, those 2 running back needy teams among the squads that have shown interest in available running backs this season. And the Philadelphia Eagles have shown interest in Hines in the past, according to a source, and head coach Nick Sirianni was the Colts offensive coordinator from 2018 to 2020. We're going to talk about Sirianni on the back end of the show because the Colts miss him a lot with Frank Reich just firing his offensive coordinator. Now, this is interesting on a couple of fronts because of what Hines can bring to the table, but over the last couple of weeks, we've talked about a lot of potential trades for running backs on the market because the Eagles have been linked to a lot of running backs in the trade market. According to a report from NBC Sports Philadelphia that we talked about recently, they made an offer for Christian McCaffrey, but the San Francisco 49ers beat them out. They have shown a little bit of interest, according to rumors and reports out there, in Kareem Hunt, as Howie Roseman might look to upgrade this running back depth chart behind Miles Sanders. Alvin Kamara, loose interest there, but I think the price tag might be a little bit too high. There were some rumblings about David Montgomery as the Chicago Bears kind of going through a fire sale right now with their new general manager, Ryan Pace, and now it's Nyheim Hines. Now, for this Eagles ground game, they have the best offensive line in football, and you look at some of these numbers, they might be somewhat surprising, especially when you look at the yards per carry here, which is 21st in the National Football League. But last year, the Eagles really relied heavily on that ground game. They were a running team, but because of the progress and the growth that we've seen from Jalen Hurts as a passer this year, they've shown more of an aerial attack, which I think bodes better for their success long-term because in this league, you have to pass it, but also if you have that dual threat nature to your offensive attack, it just makes you more dangerous. So total yards, 9th, rushing first downs, the Eagles rank 6th in the National Football League in rushing touchdowns. A lot of this because of Jalen Hurts and that quarterback sneak, but also because Miles Sanders is really having a career year. They rank 2nd in the NFL. Now, my take has been this. Miles Sanders knows this system. Miles Sanders has been here. Miles Sanders has had a really good career. A lot of people have been frustrated with him because he isn't always available, at least prior to this year, and he's been a little bit injury-prone, somewhat inconsistent. This year, though, in 2022, as he looks to lock down a new contract, as he's expected to become a free agent here in 2023, he's trying to earn himself the bag, and he's proven this year that he can be the lead back on a playoff quality team, and this year I think he's been really good. He's looked stronger. He's looked a little bit more explosive, has been putting the ball on the carpet, and I think he should be the lead back. But with that being said, I do think Philadelphia could use a depth back and a receiving threat out of the backfield on this roster, and that's why Hines is intriguing. He's a dual threat back who can run it, he can catch it out of the backfield, he can also return punts. And while Britton Covey has been sure-handed as a punt returner, he hasn't offered this team that much explosion in the punt return game. So if you bring in Nyheim Hines, he can be that backup running back and still have Boston Scott and Kenny Gainwell get some carries, but also you can put him back there as that punt returner, as we've seen Nick Sirianni experiment, obviously with Britton Covey, also Devontae Smith. You throw Hines in that mix, and that's why I'm kind of intrigued by it, and I don't think it's going to cost all that much as compared to a Kamara or a Kareem Hunt. So what do you think? Show off that football intellect down in the comment section and get it popping. Should the Birds trade for Nyheim Hines? Let me know down below. Give me a T for trade or a P for pass. Let your feelings be known about Nyheim Hines down in the comment section right now. Now, this year, he has been seldom used. Jonathan Taylor, obviously the lead back for the Indianapolis Colts, as it looks as though they're selling leading up to the deadline. Just fired their offensive coordinator. They benched Matt Ryan for Sam Ehlinger. And this year, Hines, he's been behind Jonathan Taylor, and he's not getting a lot of carries. 18 carries all year, 36 yards, a touchdown, and an average yards per tote of 2.5. But he does have a lot of experience in the NFL. 72 games played since he came into the league at a North Carolina State, 300 carries for his career, more than 1,200 yards. And while this year the yards per carry isn't good, his career averages as a backup back solid at 4 even. He also has 10 touchdowns on the ground as well. Some more background on him. 4th-round pick out of NC State. And with Howie Roseman, he is trying to prioritize culture. He wants a good cultural fit. And he understands that the Eagles right now, the last undefeated team in the NFL, they're 7-0, sitting pretty. And the culture that was put in place by Nick Sirianni really has been contagious. And everybody is kind of rallying around one another. And you could tell that the good vibes are really high in South Philadelphia right now. And if you make a trade for a guy like Kareem Hunt, you know he has some baggage. Kamara has some baggage. Nyheim Hines, Nick Sirianni knows him well, and the price tag not nearly as high for him as compared to other backs in the NFL who the Eagles might try to trade for. Now, I do want to welcome a brand new sponsor here to Philadelphia Eagles now. Really excited to say what's up and to tell you about Established Titles. Now, Established Titles is a fun and novel way to preserve the natural woodlands of Scotland while helping global reforestation efforts. It is a project based on a historic Scottish custom where landowners are referred to as lairds or lords or ladies in English, and now I am Lord Chase Sr. Title packs give you at least 1 square foot of dedicated land with a unique plot number on a private estate in Scotland and an official certificate with a crest. Established Titles plants a tree with every order across the world, and they work with global charities, One Tree Planted and Trees for the Future, to support global reforestation efforts. You could officially include the title Lord or Lady on your credit card, plane tickets, dating profiles. It makes for a great last-minute gift and honestly a really good gag gift as well with the holidays coming up around the corner. And here's the deal. The first 200 people purchasing a title pack using our link will effectively be next to my plot and Trace's plot within a few minutes of walking distance. Depending on how many of you want to become a lord or a lady, we can build our little Philadelphia Eagles Now kingdom. Makes for an amazing last-minute gift. Established Titles is actually running a massive sale right now. Plus, if you use the code CHAT, you get an additional 10% off. So go to establishedtitles.com/chat for that deal, 10% off to save some money for a great holiday gift that your family, your friends will be really stoked about because they can be landowners in Scotland. We'll put that link in the comment section and the description of this video. Appreciate their support of us and your support of them. As for Miles Sanders, as we go back to this running back conversation here, first 4 years in the NFL since being that 2nd-round pick out of Penn State, you've seen the good. Now, he has never had a 1,000-yard season. This year, though, he's on the cusp of maybe doing that for the first time, and for him to do it in a contract year, obviously huge. 2019 comes into the NFL, 818 yards, 4.5 yards per carry with 3 touchdowns, and always he's a big play guy who is always a threat to take it to the house. 2020 in year 2, he ups the yards, the average yards per carry, and the touchdowns. 2021, kind of a frustrating year for him as the workload went down, but still the production was there, 5.5 yards per carry. And while this year is his lowest yards per carry since his rookie year, I think this is honestly the best season that he's had because he's been the most consistent. 5 touchdowns. He's one away from tying his career high. 114 carries already, on pace to break those previous marks in 2019, 2020, and 2021. So with Sanders, before we get to some Eagles news, do you think that Philadelphia should re-sign him after the season? S for sign, W for let him walk in free agency because he'll be a little bit too much. Let us know right now. In other news, I teased this at the start of the show. The Indianapolis Colts miss Nick Sirianni. And isn't it funny how Nick Sirianni and his opening introductory press conference when he was first named the head coach for the Philadelphia Eagles was a disaster. Now, I gave him slack and some wiggle room at the time because it was an awkward setup at that time. Usually, he's able to take the podium at the NovaCare complex and the reporters are in front of him, but he has to address the media, of whom he never met before, through Zoom, and he's in an empty room, and I could tell he was a little bit nervous. But if you remember Doug Peterson, his opening press conference was also a disaster, but it's become clear that Jeffrey Lurie hit it out of the park by hiring Nick Sirianni. He's ended up being one of the best head coaching hires, if not the best from that coaching cycle. And right now, he's in the conversation for Coach of the Year, and he's one of the best coaches in the National Football League because of what we've seen with the adjustments made and him maximizing the players among a whole host of other things. And the Indianapolis Colts today firing their offensive coordinator, and Zach Kiefer said this: "We underestimated this at the time, but the Colts lost a heck of an offensive mind when Nick Sirianni left to take the Eagles job in 2021. By the way, at that time, nobody knew who Nick Sirianni was. Nobody thought it was a good hire. Everybody was like, wait, this guy has never called plays before. Now he's going to be a head coach." Very reminiscent of what Joe Banner and the Eagles did when they hired Andy Reid, who kind of came out of nowhere to get that job. Though Reich calls the plays, Sirianni had a huge role in game planning, scheming, play scripts, and the Colts offense has not been the same since, and those right there are facts. And you have to wonder this: Frank Reich is on the hot seat. Frank Reich is feeling the heat. Otherwise, he wouldn't fire his offensive coordinator. And Jim Irsay, kind of an owner who is a little bit wonky and can get very, very aggressive, sometimes too aggressive. And if Frank Reich gets fired, you have to wonder if Nick Sirianni, who used to work under Frank Reich, will bring back Frank Reich to Philadelphia to work under Nick Sirianni, especially if Shane Steichen leaves to get another head coaching job, and Brian Johnson, the quarterback's coach, who has a great rapport with Jalen Hurts, leaves for an offensive coordinator job elsewhere. Something to think about here. We try to be ahead of the ball here on Eagles Now. That's why you subscribe to the channel. One more note to get to the practice squad now. Eagles have signed Javelin Guidry to their practice squad, a cornerback, and they're a little bit thin in terms of depth pieces there, so this is a little bit of a security blanket. Utah, he went there undrafted in 2020. He's played so far for the Jets, Cardinals, Raiders. 5'9", 199, 24 years old. Has some experience in the NFL. 28 games, 5 starts. Just wanted to pass along that. Maybe he'll get elevated to the active roster if an injury has happened at that secondary spot. If you made it this far and you're subscribed to the channel, I want you to type real one, roll call. We appreciate everybody for rocking and rolling with us here on Eagles Now. If a trade happens, we're going live, so stay tuned for that. And as always, thanks for watching the show.